What's going on, everybody? America Football Network here with another video today. And today we're bringing you guys our Texas and Washington preview and prediction video. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe, comment those thoughts and opinions down below. Help me reach that goal of 1,100 subs by the end of December. Check out the description for links to our shop, podcast, website, Patreon page, and our college football roundup channel. We appreciate all of you guys who support us on YouTube as well as some other platforms. But let's go ahead and jump in to today's video and get started. So we got a big matchup here. This will be the Sugar Bowl, the second playoff game. It'll be Monday, January 1st at 8:45 on ESPN. But I mean, by the time this game rolls around, we'll know who's won Michigan and Alabama, and so we'll find out who goes to play them. Texas comes into this one 12-1 overall on the season, 8-1 in the Big 12. That one loss to Oklahoma. They kind of blew that game at the end as well. Washington comes in 13-0 on the year, 9-0 in the Pac-12. They've looked great for the majority of the season. I know they've played a few close ones with some teams. They've struggled in a few games, but when this offense is on, they I mean, there may not be a team in the country that can beat them when this offense is on, except for possibly Texas, because they're a team that's built kind of similarly, especially in terms of the offense. So I think that it's going to be a fun one to watch. I think some of the biggest things to look at for this game is Washington comes in ranked number 90 in total defense. Texas ranks 23rd in total defense. Now, Washington has played a little bit of a tougher schedule as far as offenses go, but Texas is definitely the better defense in this game. You look offensively, Washington ranks 12th, Texas ranks ninth. Again, you can argue that Washington has faced a little bit tougher defenses, but I mean, I think they're pretty well even on the offensive front, especially when you take into account that Jonathan Brooks is injured for Texas, their starting running back. He tore his ACL a few weeks ago. He's out the rest of the year. Um, but I think these teams are very evenly matched as far as the offense goes. The defense is where I do think Texas has the advantage at. But we'll see because I think that quarterback goes to Washington. I think Penix is the better quarterback. I think now it's not by a whole lot, but I think he's also just more experienced, more of a leader. I think he's just got more of that it factor to him. So I think that if it comes down to the end and Penix has the ball, I don't see why he's not going to lead his team down the field to score. But I mean, I think Quinn Ewers is definitely capable of taking his guys down the field to score as well. So we jump into the biggest three factors in this game. Number one is the quarterback battle between Penix and Ewers. These guys are going to have to be great. There can't be any turnovers really from these teams because this is going to be an offensive explosion, an offensive shootout. So I just don't think that these quarterbacks can really afford to be giving the ball away. I think that they're going to have to take care of the football. And I think the one that turns the ball over the most may be the team that loses. The one that even turns the ball over at all may cost his team the game. But I think that that's where the battle really starts is between those two quarterbacks, and which one's more prepared, which one isn't, which one has it going, which one doesn't. And they may both be prepared, they may both have it going, and they may both be on. Who knows? But I think that's really where it starts because if one of these teams' quarterbacks just isn't playing right, if Penix has another game like he did against Oregon State, where he starts out like 8 of 20 or something like that, then things may not be looking good for Washington. And same goes if Ewers does the same for Texas. They're gonna have to play to that elite level that they both are. Especially Penix coming off of finishing second in the Heisman, he's gonna have to play like that kind of guy. If he wants to find himself in a national championship game. Number two for me is Dylan Johnson versus CJ Baxter. Both of these teams we know can sling the ball around the yard, but it's going to come down to the running game and which team can establish a run game. Because if one of these teams is stuck one dimensional, it's not going to be a great day for them. It's going to be a struggle for them. So I think that this running back battle is really what's going to have to have to find a way to just get going for both of these teams and get a running game established. Because again, in the end, I think that's what's gonna really help the offense out the most is if one of them has a running offense and the other one doesn't. Because that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day is keeping the defense guessing. And if you can't run the football, they're not going to be guessing. You're going to be one dimensional, and they're going to be able to shut you down. So Washington with Dylan Johnson has got to find a way to get a run game going. And same thing with Texas and CJ Baxter and some of those other guys that they have. And real quick, I wanted to talk about the running backs. Brooks tore his ACL out for the season, but Texas's running back group is just so insanely deep. Like it's not even that big of a concern. Obviously, he was six in the FBS whenever he was went out with 1,100 yards on the ground. So that's not great. I mean, he's the number one running back for the upcoming draft. Now to have a guy like C.J. Baxter and Jaden Blue behind him, I think Texas is the probably the only team in this year's playoff that could afford to lose that number one back. Um, and I think that they could. Obviously, you would love to have him for this, but it's not going to kill you. You're not going to lose because he's out. So I think that does help Texas from that perspective, is that they were like the one team that could afford that. But they got to find a way to get a run game going. Both of these teams do, because if one of them is stuck one dimensional, those defenses are going to feast off of them, and that could be the difference in the game. Number three on the biggest three factors is which defense can get a few stops, that being the Washington defense, led by defensive coordinator Chuck Morrell, and the Texas defense, led by defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski. These guys are going to have to dial up some nice play calls in this one. It's going to be a tough one for these defenses. They're going up against two just great offenses, two of the best offenses in the country all season long. They're gonna have to mix in some blitz packages. They're gonna have to really find a way to affect these quarterbacks while also stopping the run. And I think whichever team can do that the best. Obviously, you're not going to completely stop either one of these quarterbacks or completely shut down either one of them's run game, but whoever can execute that the best, in my opinion, is going to probably be the team that wins. Just because if it's going to be an offensive game, and there's going to be very little room for error offensively. And obviously, Texas does have the advantage with the defense. They are a little bit better than Washington, but Washington's defense has been playing much better as of the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. So it's looking better for Washington. Had this game been played, back in like week 5, then it might have been a big concern, because Washington's defense was awful, just awful then. But they've come a long way since then. The defense is much improved. They're still obviously not great, but they have played a lot better these last couple weeks. Um, and I expect them to do just enough in this game to give Washington a chance. They're probably not going to go out there and make just huge plays and go win the game for Washington, but I think that they definitely could make some plays. I think they will make some plays and keep Washington in the game. But now, time for my score prediction here. And again, like Alabama, Michigan, this has been a tough one. Went back and forth on this one. Texas is favored by 4.5, and I have them covering that by half a point. I have them winning this one 38-33. I just think that Texas is, I think with that defense, they're just built a little bit better than Washington is. I think that defense for Texas is going to be the difference in this game. I just don't know if I can trust Washington to get enough stops. I think that Texas is going to win this one, and Sarkisian is going to take his Longhorns to the national championship. Will they face Alabama and Nick Saban, his former employer, or will they face Michigan? We'll see, but it's going to be a fun one here. I think this is probably going to be the best game out of all of them. I just think it's going to be such an offensive explosion. There's just a fun, high scoring game, and not only that, on top of all that, I think it's for us bid in the national championship, which just adds to it. It's going to be intense. I'm excited for it. Can't wait. January 1st coming up. That'll be the game of the night. and I'm hyped for it. But that's gonna wrap up today's video. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Also, drop those score predictions in the comments. Drop those just the overall playoff predictions, your national champion picks. Let me know down below. I want to hear it. I'll respond to every comment. Almost every comment. I get a chance to respond. There's a few I miss, but go ahead and drop those down there, and I'll try my best to look at it and see it and respond to you. But I appreciate all of you guys watching, and we will see you next time.